Did you know one of California's most dangerous gangs took its name from a 1960s comedy TV show? Sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly how the story of F Troop begins. Born from irony, raised in violence, and baptized in blood. This is the real story behind one of Orange County's oldest and most feared Hispanic street gangs. A group that started as a bunch of kids hanging around a community center and evolved into a ruthless force tied to the Mexican Mafia, prison politics, and the kind of violence that changes neighborhoods forever. This is F Troop. Back in the mid-1960s, Santa Ana, California, was transforming. It was a city caught between the American dream and the immigrant reality. Latino families were trying to carve out a life. Their kids just trying to survive. That's when a few teenagers began hanging out at a local spot called the Friendly Center. What started as a place to escape became a place to belong. They called themselves F Troop, a joke at first, named after a goofy TV show. But this wasn't fiction. These boys weren't actors, and the story they wrote, it was soaked in pain, power, and permanent consequences. By the 70s and 80s, that joke had become a name you feared. F Troop expanded, block by block, park by park. Soon, they were a network. Subsets like Salvador Park, Barrio Aria, Highland Street, East Side, and 7th Street rose under the F Troop flag. And with each new street they claimed, they changed. More than a gang, they became a machine. Drug trafficking, extortion, robberies, home invasions, drive-by shootings. These weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a system. One fueled by fear, maintained by violence, and run by loyalty that didn't end on the streets. It followed you into prison. And that's where things got even more dangerous. Because prison wasn't the end for F Troop members. It was just the next chapter. Behind bars, the real power players operated. The Mexican Mafia, also known as LAIM, controlled California's Latino prison population. But their reach? It didn't stop at the prison gates. It extended into neighborhoods, cities, entire regions. And F Troop, they were drafted into the Mafia's war. That's when the name Peter OA entered the story. To law enforcement, he was a ghost. To F Troop and LAIM, he was a general. Quiet, calculated, deadly. OA began as just another F Troop foot soldier. But he rose fast, not because he was loud, but because he understood how to control. From prison, Peter OA ruled the streets of Santa Ana. In January 1992, he made his most strategic move. A peace summit, right in El Salvador Park. No more random drive-bys, he said. They were sloppy, dangerous, and bad for business. From now on, violence would be selective, organized, and profitable. That day, the game changed. OA declared, every gang selling drugs on the streets would pay taxes to the Mexican Mafia. F Troop became his enforcers. Obey, or would disappear. Suddenly, the gang wasn't just surviving. It was thriving. Under OA's command, they ran a shadow government of crime. Drugs flowed, money piled up, and anyone who challenged it ended up in a morgue or disappeared behind bars. He even did it all from inside a prison cell. But power breeds enemies. And Peter OA had one in particular, Armando Moreno. Moreno was younger, fiercer, and he wanted more. He wasn't content living under OA's rules. He believed the empire needed fresh blood, new leadership, and he was willing to tear it all down to get it. What followed were riots, threats, and a gang war with no borders. Moreno rallied soldiers. OA responded with prison politics and prison justice. But just when Moreno seemed poised to take control, his past caught up with him. He had once affiliated with a Blackstreet gang. That single fact destroyed his credibility inside the deeply racialized prison hierarchy. It was over. OA stayed on top. Moreno faded into the shadows. And F Troop marched on, until federal authorities had enough. In 2011, they launched Operation Black Flag, a sweeping takedown that resulted in 99 arrests, including Peter OA and his girlfriend, Susie Rodriguez. Charges included racketeering, conspiracy to commit murder, drug trafficking, and extortion. It was one of the biggest blows to the gang in decades. But even from prison, OA's influence lingered. He died in 2020. But the legacy still lives on, because F Troop didn't just create killers. It also forged survivors, and one of them became a legend. His name? Tito Ortiz. Yes, the UFC light heavyweight champion, the face of MMA. He was once F Troop. Tito was jumped into the gang at just 9 years old. That's right, 9. He took the beating, earned the stripes, and walked the walk. Robberies, drug use, violence. It was all he knew, until one day, a friend was gunned down in a drive-by. That moment broke him and saved him. He realized the path he was on ended in a grave or a prison cell. So he chose a different fight. Wrestling. It gave him structure, purpose, a reason to keep going. He poured everything into the sport, and eventually, he rose. Not just out of Santa Ana, but to the world stage. The same fist that once defended turf now held championship belts. He says it himself. Without wrestling, I'd be dead or in jail. Tito's story is rare, but powerful, because it proves something we don't say enough. Escape is possible, but let's be honest, most never make it out. Today, despite crackdowns, F Troop still exists, still recruits, still controls parts of Orange County. Its structure has evolved. New faces, new tech, new rules. But the mission? Still the same. Power through fear, loyalty through blood. What does this tell us? That gangs like F Troop are just about crime? No, they're symptoms of poverty, of broken schools, of absent fathers, of communities abandoned by opportunity and soaked in survival. F Troop started as a joke, a group of teenagers naming themselves after a sitcom, but it turned into something real and deadly. It turned kids into killers, friends into enemies, streets into graveyards. And yet, inside that tragedy are moments of redemption, of resilience, of people like Tito Ortiz who climbed out of the abyss. But how many more Titos are stuck? How many more Petes are waiting to be recruited? We've seen the problem. It's time to ask the hard question. Can this cycle ever be broken? Can outreach, sports, mentorship, and opportunity stop the next generation from walking into the same war? Let us know what you think in the comments. Have you seen gang life up close? What worked? What didn't? And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because we're bringing you more real stories from inside the underworld. Stories that go beyond headlines. Stories that matter. This was the story of F Troop, a gang named after a joke that became anything but funny.